everyone, I am Pipebatch, and welcome back to Our Life Beginnings and Always. We're moving on to talks now, and I'm not going to beat around the bush. Let's just get on with the ding-dang thing, okay? Talks. That is a little bit worrying. I feel like this is going to be a serious one. Let's go for it. Another placid summer day was drifting by. Your daydreams were chasing each other, none sticking around long enough to become a firm plan, but you didn't really mind that right now. A tapping worked its way into those dreams. Focusing more, you realized it was coming from your window. A grin popped on your face as though it had been waiting all day for this moment. Wow, I wonder who it is. Heading to the window, you could see Cove outside. Wow, Cove? No way. His habit of climbing this way really was a true Coveism. He'd rather scale your house than wait the couple extra minutes for you to come down. No, hold out a hand to him, yeah. You offered Cove a hand to help him. Once he was mostly inside, he took it to help steady the last bit of his entrance. Though, considering how many times he'd done this, he hardly needed the help. Hey, dude. Hey, Patch. What's up? Sup? Welcome home. Oh, that's so cute. Do you think my mum should invest in some bigger windows? Cove laughed at that and took one last look at his exclusive entrance. He hummed with a teasing look on his face. Maybe. Cove's voice came out quietly, with a strangely pleased smile on his face. Did something happen? Cove opened his mouth to answer, only to have your phone ringing cut him off. You both turned to where it rested a little further up on your bed. It was still face down, so you couldn't tell who was calling. It's okay. Your attention shot back to Cove. He smiled at you awkwardly. Go check, it could be important. I'll wait. Thanks. You shuffled forward and scooped the little noisemaker into your hand. You flipped it over and checked the caller ID. Who's Miranda again? Is she my cousin? It's Miranda. You should answer it. I want to say hi too. Okay. Oh, my little crab. With a nod, you accepted the call and set it to speaker. Hi, Miranda. Oh no, of course Miranda, my friend. Duh. Hi, you don't look too happy. There was something off about her tone. Cove met your gaze and you saw the same confusion in his expression. Have you heard from Terri at all, or did you hear about her from Cove? Huh? No, she hasn't called me, but Cove is with me right now. Hey. Oh, hi Cove. Is that what you were going to say? He shook his head no, before realizing that it wasn't a good enough answer when one person couldn't actually see it. No, Terri hasn't called me today either. Is something wrong? At that, Miranda couldn't hold herself together any longer. The muffled sobs from the other side of the line were unmistakable. Oh no. Oh, no, Miranda, that's not true. Oh no. Terri doesn't like me anymore, if she ever did. What? That doesn't sound right. You're probably her best friend out of all of us. Yeah, why do you think that? She sniffled, and there was a pause as you could hear her shift the phone to her other hand. Terri was here the other night watching movies with me. We were up super late. She realized her parents probably went to bed, so they couldn't pick her up. My mum and dad were definitely asleep then. Dad works early. I tried telling her it was okay to just spend the night and she could text her parents what happened, but Terri really didn't want to. You glanced at Cove. He looked equally unsure about where this story was going. It didn't sound like a friendship ending situation. I suggested things to make it easier if she was nervous, like she could sleep by herself in my room while I stayed somewhere else. Yeah? And I said we didn't have to sleep at all. We could have kept watching movies until one of our parents woke up. I wouldn't have minded. I know not everyone can do sleepovers, but Terri wouldn't even tell me what was really wrong or what I could do to help. I thought we could tell each other anything. I guess I was wrong. Terri, Miranda, it just sounds like maybe there was something going on that you didn't know about and she didn't feel comfortable sharing at that moment. I don't think your friendship is over. I think you're okay. Did she stay in the end? No. We got too loud in the kitchen and my dad woke up. He offered to drive her home when he heard what was wrong. She texted me, apologizing for my dad having to do that when he needed to rest, but that was it. She isn't talking to me anymore. You could hear every bit of the tears and heartbreak in Miranda's voice. This continued to be a shock for your neighbor, but Cove recovered and spoke gently. I'm really sorry. There's no way Terri wanted to make you feel this bad, or that she's just done with your friendship because of this. Miranda's sniffing continued. You hoped she had plenty of tissues handy. It'll be okay. I hope Terri is alright. It's really weird that she reacted like that. It's not a big deal, honestly. You won't... It had to be. You couldn't imagine any alternative. Miranda's voice sounded a little bit more collected after finishing her story, but you knew that the crying was far from being done. I thought she'd have reached out to one of you by now. Maybe she's not talking to anyone. Maybe she's not ignoring you. Maybe something happened. Yeah. Sorry for bothering you and Cove about this. Apology accepted. Don't worry about it. Hello, Charlie. Hi. What's going on, Baba? You want some attention? Yes. Hello. So squidges. Here, look. I set the blanket down and you can sit on it. Here, come over here. Come over here. See, sit down. Yes, that's it. Nice and comfy. Nice and comfy. Good job. Right, you can tell us things. Thank you. Her shaking voice finally conveyed a little optimism, or at least relief that she wasn't dealing with it entirely on her own. If you do hear from her or anything, could you let me know if she's alright? We can. Thanks. Let's talk later, okay? Bye. 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 Oh no, poor Miranda. That didn't really seem like an especially productive point to end the call, though you also weren't sure where to go from there. Maybe you should go over to her house, see if she's okay? Like, hang out with her for a bit. Looking to Cove, his face seemed as lost as yours. With no alternative, you hung up and put your phone back on your bed. Cove crossed his arms, a frown creasing his face. He began to pace the length of your room, clearly trying to put the pieces together in his head in a way that made sense. You were worried, you felt pretty confident about this working out well. It sounded like trouble to you. I think I'm a bit worried. Like even if I think the situation will mend itself, I'm still worried about my friends being upset. Biting the inside of your cheek, you stared at the ground. Hearing Miranda so distraught like that was not easy. And what about Terri? The uncertainty was tearing you up. The empty state of your head before learning this was not helping you now. You couldn't put two thoughts together, and flopping back onto your bed, you stared into space. We should probably try calling Terri. I think that's a good idea. Cove's voice managed to drag you back to some grounding. He'd stopped pacing, but you still saw a perturbed look on his face. Yeah, I'm worried about her too. You bounced up and moved to his side, ready to act on whatever plan you two could come up with. Cove started with the easiest thing. He pulled out his phone and called Terri. Cove let it ring and ring and ring and ring. Terri didn't answer. There wasn't even an option to leave a voice message. Your shoulders slumped, and Cove looked even more troubled. If that was possible. He turned to you as if for some lifeline. Could you try calling? I'm gonna send a text, just like, hey, I was trying to reach you, call me, or something. Yeah. You took out your phone once more. Unfortunately, after another set of interminable rings? Interminable rings? The line went dead. No answer, no voicemail. Hanging up, you saw Cove visibly deflate. He rubbed his arm, eyes distant, openly struggling with the whole affair. I don't like this at all. They're fighting. We barely know anything, and we're supposed to just wait and see? Despite it only being a minute since he texted Terri, Cove checked his phone again. He was desperate for progress, for something, and you frowned as you watched him. You need to try to relax. You're making me anxious. There's no way Terri has answered you. They're gonna get over it, Oh, I don't like... All of those are kind of dismissive. I don't like that. But at the very least, maybe I'm hoping the game will interpret you need to try to relax a bit better, of just going, okay, we need to approach this rationally and with a level head. I need you to take a few breaths. Cove stared hard at the screen as though he was trying to will a new message to appear. As your words sank in, his gaze slid over towards you. Please don't be angry at me. Just a little bit. Come on, you're working yourself up. Thank you. Okay. Whew. Closing your eyes, he took a deep breath and released it slowly. It wasn't much, but you could see him ease up slightly. Yeah, you're probably right. Cove was still gripping his phone with both hands, as though it might fly away if he let it go. He looked to you with almost painful earnestness. Should we... What do we even say if we do hear from one of them? His pacing resumed, as he attempted to answer his own question. But it was written all over his face that he had no idea how to tackle any of this. He slowly came to a halt, like a gear winding down. We should find out Terry's side of the story. We should just comfort Miranda and let up with Terry. I don't know. We should only tell them to work it out between themselves. That's it. You wondered why you always had to come up with things. You didn't say anything. Oh, so this is supposed to be a challenging one. I think we should be a bit more worried with Terry at the moment, because maybe it feels like there could be a side to that story that we didn't understand, and perhaps there is a chance she could actually be in trouble. And though Miranda's hurt feelings are important, we should prioritize making sure our friend is safe first, because that will help us progress a bit more as well. We should find out Terry's side of the story. Nothing could be done until you knew that what she thought of this. That much was certain. Cove nodded slightly in agreement. For several minutes you both remained there in silence, drowning in your thoughts. Eventually Cove turned around. I'm gonna text Terry that we already know what's going on. Maybe she'll have an easier time talking to us because she won't have to pretend or explain. Okay, but don't be accusatory about it. Yeah, that might be the only way to get her attention. You can't do that. Miranda didn't say it was right to admit she talked to us. You felt way too overwhelmed to know what to say next. I think you're pushing too much. That's not a good idea, Cove. Not at all. Why are you so fixated on this? No, that's fair enough. Oh, that's tough. I think Miranda was seeking comfort, and we don't necessarily have her permission to share that side of the story. I think the main thing to glean from this is that Terry isn't responding and we are worried about her safety, and I think that's the approach we need to take, not necessarily the situation we're trying to solve. Miranda called you asking if Terry had opened up about it, and then she told us about what happened in private. She didn't know if Terry would be okay with any of that. That doesn't make it fine to do that to her. Terry isn't talking to Miranda at all. If you want to tell Terry, we could still talk to Miranda about it first. We could, but if Miranda wanted it to be a big secret, then she would have just said that. And if she does want to hide it, I don't think we should. Oh, I don't like being forced to fight him. You're being really mean right now. He's not mean, he's just concerned. And it's coming out, I think, slightly wrong. You need to just stop already. No, we still should call it Miranda. You felt way too overwhelmed to know what to say next. Being tense doesn't mean it's okay to act like this. I don't know who that's referring to. I think we should call Miranda one more time. It's only fair. For a moment, Cove thought about what you said. Calmly, you added, I'm not saying we can't tell Terry ever, but we just had to talk to her about it so she understands. A small noise escaped his lips. All the frustration of the situation crumbled away from his face, and he spoke softly. Thanks, Patch. I'm glad it's not just me with all this happening. Cove took one last look at his phone and then put it away. His effort at a smile was meager but earnest. Oh, I'm so glad we're through that. It's okay, he's anxious. His friends are fighting and that's scary. His friendships are important to him and I understand. But I think we can think this through rationally and still take people's comfort and privacy into consideration. We can just forget about it for a while. That's not what I meant. Terry will talk to us when she wants to. That's not really what I meant. You smile just a little bit finally. That sounds good to me. Smile. Even this slight lessening of tension between you and Cove was working wonders on your shaking heart. The last thing any of you needed was more division among your friends. Oh, I don't know if this is really the angle I wanted to go. I still wanted to call Terry. I just didn't want to say, hey, why are you upset with Miranda? I wanted to say, hi, is everything okay? No one's been able to reach you. We just want to make sure you're safe, you know? Oh well. We'll roll with it. A silence stretched on for what felt like hours, but it likely wasn't that long before there was a knock at your bedroom door and Mum peeked in. Hi, just wanted to check in on you. Oh, Cove, when did you get here? When she saw you were there, she opened the door all the way. Ma was standing there as well. She slipped past her wife to come inside your space. What's going on? We're okay. It's just, Miranda called earlier. She and Terry are fighting, but none of us know what's going on with Terry. Your parents exchanged a meaningful look, though its meaning was lost on you. That's too bad. I'm sorry there's trouble with your friends, sweetie. Is there anything we can do to help? Out of the corner of your eye, you saw Cove rub his arm awkwardly, unable to add anything. No, we're just waiting to see if Terry calls or texts, or if Miranda does. Well, we can at least help you take your mind off things while you're waiting. Oh, I feel like we should do something, but okay. Another great idea, Lani. We can get the whole gang together for some quality time. Oh, no, I don't feel like quality time right now, thank you. Mum gave you a soft smile and added, this'll be good. Oh wait, sorry, wrong one. This'll be good, especially since it might help make up for what happened at the farmer's market. That's interesting, I thought you could play these in any order. Does this change depending on which ones you've played? Also whatever, shut up. Yeah, it'll be wonderful. I'll go see what Liz is up to right now. Excited, she fluttered a few steps away and then stopped. She pivoted on her heels and raised a single finger, flashing a big smile at Cove. And of course, Cliff will be welcome too. Oh, hey, my friends are fighting. I'd rather focus on them than family time right now. Knowing your family was always there for you, that couldn't be underestimated. In fact, it meant everything to you that your mums cared so much. I know, they do have good intentions. Thanks, Mum. Yeah, thanks. That's nice of you. You're both very welcome. Don't sweat it, not so kiddos. Leave things to us. Just relax and we'll call you when it's all together. What are we doing? You nodded and your mums dispersed for now, springing into action for their impromptu get-together. You flopped down on your bed, feeling like you could sink into it and disappear. Cove, meanwhile, took a spot on a chair off to the side. You sighed at the same time, and Cove's mouth pulled into a bent smile at that. He gave his phone another quick check, and his eyebrows furrowed. Oh, is there a message? Still nothing? Yeah, this is crap, huh? Whoa, he said a bad word. Yeah. Cove chewed the inside of his cheek, as if to mimic the stress that was clearly eating away at him. Cove, what's wrong? What's really wrong? One disagreement doesn't make you act like this. That got a pointed pause in his movement. Cove was carefully trying to put his thoughts together. He spoke in a fragile voice. Yeah, because I think something was going on before this all came up. When people you care about, when they're unhappy with each other, there's nothing you can do. At least when you're in a fight yourself, you have some responsibility, some control over it. I wish it didn't have to happen, but that isn't possible. So, oh well, I guess. His attempt to giving a nonchalant shrug after that was pitiable. Yeah, it makes me feel horrible too, true, but you're right that it can't be helped. It's whatever, other people can do what they want, right? This is so dismissive. Why are we getting all these dismissive prompts? I don't want to take it away from him because we're talking about how he feels right now. I guess this one, true, but you're right that it can't be helped. I know. He replied like he could barely muster the strength to speak. I want to give him a hug. Well, we just have to focus on the things we can impact, or at least try. You turned to Cove, hoping your eyes conveyed the message you were feeling better than your words. His gentle nod told you that they did. There was a question you had to ask. Is it Is it because of what happened with your parents? Cove ran a hand through his hair, a strange smile spreading across his lips. For him, this pain struck close to his heart. Just as quickly as it had come, his smile was gone, lost amidst his faraway gaze. Yeah, you got it. It's like my parents. Despite knowing him for so many years, Cove had never spoken of the years before he moved to Sunset Bud, before his parents separated, in any detail. He whispered his thoughts distantly, almost unconcerned with whether you could hear them or not. Oh, they used to fight all the time. I think they got along when I was a baby. I mean, they had to have wanted to be with each other at some point, but when I was old enough to remember anything, it was already bad. There was always something wrong, and I could never help. I just wanted them to be happy. You tried to imagine your mums breaking up. The very idea scared you, but Cove had endured that for real. I'm sorry. Perch, it's okay. Despite that revelation, Cove gazed reassuringly at you. Yeah, my parents have divorced, and it's sad because it's such a common occurrence now. I think most kids have divorced parents that I know of. And it's upsetting that the fact that it's so common detracts from how it is really painful and it is difficult for a kid to go through. And it certainly affects how you think about relationships in the future. But I guess in the scheme of things, people compare it to bigger traumas and upsetting events that you can go through and really dismiss the kind of impact it can have on you. But it is still a big impact, especially like when you're young. In really formative years, it really impacts how you think about relationships and your family. Despite that revelation, Cove gazed reassuringly at you. It's not like that anymore. Things are so different now. I don't even really think about it. Again, the sorrow reasserted itself. When he continued, you could barely hear him. Yeah, like, it's not something I really think about so much anymore, but it just still upsets you sometimes. Or almost like a mourning for the way that things could have been. Though I guess it's still pretty obvious I haven't forgotten either. You tried to smile for him. You crossed the room and took his hand. You went over and placed a hand on your shoulder. I think a hug. I think sometimes a kiss is misplaced. You know, I think a hug is more intimate and heartfelt in this moment. You crossed the room, picking up a little bit of speed, and Cove's eyes widened. He shot out of the chair, and this is all happening very quickly, like it's just suddenly speeding together. He shot out of the chair and stood, waiting for you with a nonplussed look. Oh, Cove. Oh, buddy. Oh. When you collided into him, wrapping your arms around his middle and knocking the air out of his lungs, all mystery was gone. Cove squeaked. Oh. He returned the gesture longingly. Oh. Exhaling, you leaned down and pressed your cheek into the warmth of his neck. The tension stuck in your chest, released like a river flowing into the ocean that was Cove. The firmness of his hug told you Cove didn't plan on letting go anytime soon. You both needed the comfort and closeness for just a little bit longer. When he finally did, he kept hold of your hand. Oh, I think it's starting to rain here. Oh, lovely. I hope the mic doesn't pick it up. The two of you took a seat again, this time side by side on your bed. Oh. Today was a lot hard. It's been 20 minutes. Yeah, it was. You sat there contentedly. You leaned against him. You caressed his hand. I'll lean against him. Resting the side of your head onto his shoulder, you glanced up at his face. Cove watched you affectionately. In that gentle gaze, you finally felt like everything was going to be okay. No matter what happens, we can make it work. His mouth pulled into a bent smile at that. You chuckled, resting your head comfortably back on his shoulder. You can hear the little voice in the background occasionally. I think so too. He couldn't sit still anymore. Cove leaned in, delicately pressing his lips to your forehead, and he raised one free hand to lightly touch your jaw. The breath got caught in your throat. When you remembered to breathe, blood rushed to your face, turning your skin deep red. You tried not to think about how hot you were feeling, because after everything that happened today, you were just grateful for the moment. And for a while you stayed like that. A comfortable quiet fell between you, and the sun fell with it. Oh, is something happening? The warming calm ended when Cove gasped abruptly. Yep, here we go. You spun, half expecting to find him nursing an injury, but instead found him staring straight ahead. Did you get a message? What? Whew. I think my phone just vibrated. Well, you better find out if it did. Right. He patted his pockets, fumbling in his panic, and yanked the phone out. The force of the action nearly catapulted the device out of his grip entirely, but he caught it just in time. His eyes honed in on the screen. It's Terri, thank God. She says she's sorry. He looked back to you, eyes wide as his nerves started to fray once more. What should I say? I don't know. Give it a second. I need to think. Tell her to call us. Ask her what's going on. Ask if she's talked to Miranda. You claimed her. Ask her what's going on, I think. Okay. He nodded and began typing. Cove was aware that his blunt words could sometimes make others bristle, even though he never meant them to hurt. Cove's phone buzzed nearly as soon as the message was sent. It's Terri again. She's talking to us. You leaned in, watching the conversation unfold on Cove's screen. She's gonna actually call. Cove held his breath as you waited. His circle of friends had always been so small, so he'd managed to avoid the stress of seeing friends fighting. You suspected he was feeling this even more keenly, both because this was so uncommon and the friends so important to him. His phone rang out. Cove jammed the answer button. He switched the phone into speaker mode, allowing you to participate in the conversation. But despite his immediate reaction, his voice lacked the same resolve when he spoke. Hey. It was tentative, a white flag fluttering in the wind. Patch is here too. Hey, Terri. Hey, buddies. Hi, what's wrong? Terry's voice was barely recognizable without her usual quick patter and energy. Are things okay? I don't know. Probably not. Cove tensed, his free hand coiling into an anxious fist. What happened? You heard Terri sigh over the phone as she unburdened herself. Pretty much, I was at Randy's house. We decided to watch the movie she super liked that I'd never seen before. Turns out there's a lot of those. We watched one, and another, and another. We were having so much fun. Each time one finished, she had another one to share with me. That's a lot of movies. I didn't really think about it at the time. I only wanted to say yes to Randy and watch her movies. She spoke wistfully, but I think you two, you're blushing. I think you two might like each other, but okay, we're continuing. She spoke wistfully, but her words were full of affection. But also, if you don't, that's also cool. Friendship rules. It was Randy, I wasn't thinking about my schedule or what time it was. Totally. Then I finally saw the time and, oh no, it was way late. I already knew I couldn't stay. She took a deep breath, her voice becoming softer when she resumed talking. I was so stressed out, I just couldn't deal with it. Miranda wanted to help. She kept coming up with these ways to make it better and trying to figure out why I was so upset and stuff. I was trying to answer her questions, and there were so many, but I couldn't really answer all of them. I didn't even know why some of her ideas wouldn't work with me. It sounds like you had a panic attack, bud. That's okay. It made my head ache. I still had the first problem, and Randy there trying to help, blasting all these questions and suggestions made me faster than I could even think. She gulped audibly, sniffing. I got frustrated and told her to just leave me alone, but then she wanted to talk about why I wanted that, and we just started having a fight in the kitchen. It woke Randy's dad up. We told him about how I wanted to go home, but my parents couldn't get me, so Mr. Eckert offered to do it. Problem solved? No. I mean, yeah, kinda, but I accept it because I definitely couldn't stay then. Not after throwing a racket and turning it into a big deal. But I feel awful and embarrassed. Why did I yell at Randy and hurt her feelings? I made her dad lose sleep by waking him up and having to drive me home. What did you say? What do you say after that? I have no idea. I don't even know where to start, and I don't want to make it worse by saying the wrong thing and fighting again. So, I'm not talking. Terri, Randy isn't mad that you didn't want to stay or that you fought. She just wants to feel like you can talk to her. I mean, you can say whatever you want. She'll listen. Not talking to her at all is pretty much the only wrong way to go about it. Terri lamented mournfully on the other end of the line, but he had a point. Unless she faced Miranda again, there would be no resolution. You looked at Cove, hunched over the phone, staring pensively into it and searching for a solution. This couldn't be solved with the other key party missing, but what if you brought them in? Your phone was still free. Oh, that's a good idea. I will suggest it. I'm not going to spring that on someone. I've got an idea. What if we called Miranda on my phone? Cove and I could make sure your conversation didn't fall off the rails. Oh, she doesn't like that idea. Cove brightened up. The concerned furrow in his brow, which had taken root when Miranda first called, eased. That could work. Terri, are you up for it? She made a noise that wasn't a word, but nevertheless conveyed her hesitation and worry. She brought it are like chain, like group phone calls still a thing? Because I just use Discord, but she brought it to a close with a decisive exhalation, as if pushing all negative thoughts from her body. All right, I'll do it. Cove nodded. Now that you received approval from everyone, you pulled out your phone and called Miranda. You set it to speaker and waited for her to pick up. Luckily, she did. Hi, Patch. Her voice was still distant, as if her thoughts were elsewhere, but it was loud enough for your needs. Hi, you're on speaker. Terri is on speaker too, on Cove's phone. Oh. She paused while she digested this information. You watched the phone screen, hoping that she wouldn't hang up as a result. Really? Yep, it's me. Can you hear my voice all the way from your house to theirs and then mine? I can. You and Cove exchanged looks, waiting for the wall between them to break, and wondering who would be the one to do it. As the quiet dragged on, you caught Cove chewing his cheek. He must have weighed on the same question as you, whether to encourage the conversation along or leave Miranda and Terri to resolve it themselves. The answer came in the form of one sniff, followed by another from Cove's phone. Sorry, Randy. I hope you still like me. What? You were the one acting as if you didn't like me. Her tone was defensive, no doubt a result of her wounds from last night still being raw. No way! Everyone likes Randy. You're wonderful. Your eyes met Cove's. His phone was tilted towards you, capturing the call indirectly. You moved your phone close to his, hoping that the signal was strong enough to convey every nuance of tone. Cove did likewise, bringing his cell right next to yours, even bumping against it as he shifted his grip. I didn't know what to say. That's the only reason I would talk to you. If I had known the answer, I'd have told you right away. Miranda murmured on the other end of the line. You didn't want to say anything I tried to do bothered you, and you could have told me you didn't know. Yeah, I think I was angry at myself. I did a dumb thing, and I didn't want to help with it. I wanted to be mad and just deal with it myself. It made me keep doing dumb things. Oh. When she spoke again, her voice was quiet, as tender and vulnerable as the words. Staying up late and watching stuff was all my fault. I had to find a way to fix it. That's what I thought, anyway. I should have given you space. I'm sorry for being so pushy and sensitive. Hardly. Miranda Eckert having a flaw? I've never heard of such a crazy thing. Miranda let out a ghost of a giggle. Cove cleared his throat. Maybe you should call each other now? Sorry. Can do. Thanks for giving me the kick in the butt to do this already. Randy Mandy, I'm gonna call you right now. Bye, Patch and Cove. She hung up after squeezing in another quick bye, though not giving you or Cove room to respond in kind. Miranda laughed, the noise tinkling gently like wind chimes in a summer breeze. Thank you for listening and helping. I'm gonna hang up so I can answer Terry's call. Bye. Bye. Bye, you got this. Oh, that went well. Miranda hung up, still chuckling softly as your call ended. The room felt emptier without the other voices in it. Cove expelled a sigh that crashed through the newly fallen silence. He dropped his arms to his sides, letting his head hang down like a puppet at rest. Oh, thank God. They shouldn't have involved us in that. Look, I think if you feel uncomfortable being in the middle of it, I think it's fair enough to back out. They shouldn't necessarily draw you into drama, but I don't think that's what happened here. I think Miranda was upset and worried about Terri, and she was seeing if we had seen her, and I think that's okay. I'm so relieved it's okay. You were simply happy your friends had made up. The day's events had drained you. You were content now that Cove seemed at ease again. I'm so relieved it's okay. Cove scratched at his face, his expression cloudy. I think I need to find better ways for dealing with conflict because that was awful. We could all probably do better at that. I think you did okay given the circumstances. Yeah, I think that would help. We could all probably do better at that. Yeah, I think so. Cove meekly smiled as he rubbed at his eyes, weariness creeping over him, and mumbled his next words. Can we talk about it another day? Conflict resolution methods? Huh? Oh, no, forget it. Your eyebrows rose and then a light bulb went off in your head. Before Miranda called, didn't you say there was something you'd wanted to say? Cove's original visit had been thrown so off kilter that it was a struggle to wind your memory back to when he'd first turned up. Now you did, though. You remembered that he'd been perky when he'd arrived this afternoon. Was it good news? Cove brushed his hand against his new folded arm shyly. Yeah, well, maybe. I'm not exactly sure it counts as news or even good. It just is what it is. I'm happy about it though. Oh, come on, no more hints. You've got to tell me now. Cove chuckled awkwardly, a hand creeping up to ruffle the hair on the back of his head. It's fine. If you want to hear, I can tell you. Oh my god, this is taking so long. Come on, dude. He shifted on his feet, as if a different posture might give him the support he needed for the conversation. I didn't want to make it a big deal, but I I know what my sexuality is now. Oh my god, that's huge news, dude. Well done, congratulations. That's a big thing. That is a big thing. Figuring that out and being content with with how you feel in that situation is huge. Some people never figure it out, which is also okay. But that can be really big for a person. That is huge. Congratulations, dude. Oh, a real subject change, huh? He chuckled. True, it was unexpected, but you're excited that Cove had come to understand himself more, and glad he wanted to share that with you. That's great. Tell me. Cove drew a deep breath, straightening up. Oh, yay, 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 yay. I'm demisexual, so most of the time I don't really have those kinds of feelings, physical wants and stuff. It's only in some situations when I'm already really emotionally and romantically connected to someone that I start to ever think about anything sexual, and it's only with them. Nice, dude. Nice. I like that one. It's a personal favorite. No, that's not the way to think about this stuff. I hadn't heard the term until pretty recently, and it just made a lot of sense. Once I knew what it meant, I had a word that fit how I felt. Oh, that's fantastic, bud. That's fantastic. Yeah, I think I'm demi-romantic, and I think it's a nice feeling. Knowing that there's a term for that is really, really lovely. Yeah, dude. Heck yeah. And I'm pan-romantic, because I've never had a preference for a specific gender or anything. So, yeah. That makes sense. Cove looked down at the floor, being so open and direct about a matter that personal, which he was sure he'd spent a long time trying to figure out, seemed to be kind of weird. I really love this. I love this. This is beautiful. Despite that, there was a small, proud smile on his face, and when he looked up again, his gaze was steadfast. It's really nice to know. Have I ever pushed you or made you feel uncomfortable? So does that mean... does that mean you're thinking sexual things about me? You felt proud of your boyfriend too. While I would very much like to say the flirty answer, I think that would be funny and fun. I think also he's coming at this seriously, and I want to respond in kind and make sure that I'm respecting his boundaries. Cove shook his head easily. No, I overthink things and I get embarrassed about stuff, but you know how I am. When I actually don't want to do something, it's pretty hard to make me. Well, that's good to know. That was definitely true of Cove. He had proven many times over the years that he wasn't afraid to dig in his heels. I, like what we do together, and, so, you know, I'll be glad if that didn't stop. This is so cute. There Cove went getting bashful about things again, but you felt good, and you could feel that way because he was feeling good too. Okay, thanks for answering. All of this talk about Cove's sexuality made you reflect about your own. Ooh. Your feelings and yours hadn't wavered, your view had evolved since you were younger. I think mine have evolved from since I was younger. I personally am ace, and that's a very unwavering thing for me. I just have no interest whatsoever. It's just not my thing. I think personally I want this character to not be ace though. Just because I want them to have that kind of relationship, I guess. I hope that's not weird, but you know. Had a physical attraction in a general way. You only seem to have physical attraction in specific cases and situations. Didn't really have a physical interest in other people. You didn't think you could tell if you had an interest in people physically. There was only one person you'd ever felt those kind of feelings for. I think I'm happy to say that my character is also Demi, which I guess could be this one as well, if I'd have only experienced those feelings for Cove. But I suppose in specific cases, let's go with that. You had romantic attraction in a general way. You only seem to feel romantic attraction. Yeah. But specifically, when it came down to how you felt towards me, I'm not really about them. But in my mind also, every role has an exception. That if I found a guy that I'm like, wow, this person is incredible and brings me so much satisfaction and joy in my life, I'm not going to turn that down because of the label I've given myself or their gender identity. You know, I'm going to pursue the relationship with the person before their you know what I mean? Anyway, you weren't physically interested, but you were very happy in your romantic relationship with Chloe. You generally weren't interested in guys, but there was like this is me. Yeah. And how you felt? They're queens. Every single one is perfect, and I love them all. Yes, but I think we're yeah. Yes, this is yes. How you felt? Yes, enemies, yay! Also, all absolutely perfection. I love all of them. Yes, please. To be fair, I have said. Oh no, I did say that my character is demisexual. Okay, that's fine. You already told Cove. I think I've probably already told Cove. I mean, it's something I'm very open about. So I tell friends and stuff when it comes up in conversation, and I imagine that my character would have told Cove at some point. He had always been supportive about this topic, listening actively and supporting you in whatever conclusion she reached. And because in the end, our character likes Cove, and that's the main thing to take away from it, rather than any label or something. It's kind of, I think it comes down to the relationships you commit to and you choose to be in, and your feelings, rather than any way you try to label those things. I don't know. I guess I haven't really thought about it in these such definitive terms so far, like before. But yeah, there we go. It was heartwarming that he'd reached a point where he felt similarly capable of discussing his own. Yeah, that's awesome! You felt his tiredness deep in the marrow of your bones. It had been a trying day. Now everything was neatly wrapped up, for today at least, and you had earned a rest. Yes, please. You'd had some good talks and come out. Full stop. And come out of it not knowing only each other better, but yourself too. Hey, we should probably head downstairs soon, if your mums are still wanting everyone to get together. Yeah, that's right. Woo. With a renewed spring in your step, you led the way out of your room. You got downstairs to find the others already assembled and waiting. Hello, everyone. Liz, wearing a hat inside. That's normal. Hello. And also the only one with an American accent. I don't know why I ever made that decision. That doesn't make sense. I occasionally give mums American accents. I just flip back and forth. Because it's a bit. Hey. Good to see you both. Hey, Cliff. Why does it say Mr. Holden and not Cliff? We know your name. Hey, here we are. Trying to corral everyone into a group, but the two of you were already upstairs this whole time. Of course we were together. You paid Patch to stick with me. Or did you forget? Haha. Oh yeah, I'm gonna need this month's payment as soon as possible, if that's okay. Thank you, Mr. Holden. We're going on a fortnightly basis. The statement was meaningless to your family, who looked to each other for answers in vain. Mr. Holden got the message loud and clear, seemed embarrassed. He chuckled nervously, rubbing the back of his neck. You're never gonna live it down, old man. Ouch, son. You always know when to remind me of that one. Uh-huh. I can't let you live it down. Yet. Oh, yeah. Can we hear exactly what this secret is? The suspense is killing us. Alright. I'd better get everyone up to speed. What? It's only been 10 years or something. He held up his hands, palms out, pacifying his audience. Or perhaps holding them up as a shield in advance. That first day I met Patch, I'd been worrying about Cove being alone for the summer. There weren't a lot of kids around, and he wasn't exactly on the best of terms with me at the time. He glanced around at your family, gouging their expressions. I felt like this was my one shot, so I kind of offered them $20 to be friends with Cove, and added that they couldn't tell him about it. Liz gasped. Ma was staring incredulously at Mr. Holden, while Mom's eyebrows had retreated to her hairline. You and Cove, already knowing the story, were the only ones unaffected. But after a while, I really did honestly forget it never happened. I don't... really, because I, told Cove straight away. He raised his hands higher, now level with his shoulders. Not a bad idea, you thought. If Mom felt inclined to throw a cushion at him, he'd probably manage to block it in time. Yeah, you tried to pay me as a 5-year-old. I know that's bad, but I've had so many grand ideas over the years. It's hard to keep track of them all, all the different times I've manipulated my son. Cove smiled, placing his hands on his hips and shaking his head at his father's antics. I can't believe you, though also, I totally can. Your mums were less indulgent. The shock had ebbed away to displeasure. Mum's foot was tapping rapidly as she frowned at the next-door neighbor, while Ma had crossed her arms over her chest and her lips pursed. I'm sorry, Patch, and I'm sorry to your parents, too. That's the way out of bounds. That was way out of bounds. Don't worry about it. Everything worked out. They're not happy. Your mums gave each other that look, where they seemed to communicate with eyes alone. Well, alright, that's that then. And it won't happen again. Why would it happen again? It definitely won't. Good. It was a little surprising that they were letting him off the hook, but on the other hand, it was a long time ago now, and you were sure your mums remembered those painful early days of Cove's arrival too. Mr. Holden wasn't a potential bad influence anymore, so a lecture would be pretty moot. Instead, your ma gave him a lenient smile. Now that it's settled, why don't we find something to do? Nods of agreement cascaded through the group in a couple waves at the suggestion. Mr. Holden's shoulders slumped with a release of tension. He brought his hands down, tucking them away into his pockets. Hey, how about cards? There was a murmur of interest from the others. Yeah, it's fine with me. Yeah, fun. Okay. It was very nearly, but not quite, unanimous. Mr. Holden demurred. I think I'll sit this one out. Where's the fun in that? Join in. We're not too angry with you. Yes, and I know there's a lot of people, but we can make it work. Mr. Holden shrunk into himself, embarrassed by their attention. Dad, you love playing cards. We do it at our house all the time. Cove's right. Remember that time I played over there? We played for real. For cold, hard cash. Dad? What? Mr. Holden broke under the combined force of everyone's attention. What is going on? I think I missed something. Cove and Patch, you're adults now. You deserve to know the truth. I used to throw the card game so you could win. How dare you? I put up a good fight, but I always made sure to lose a lot more rounds than I won. He toyed with the end of his ponytail, clearly distressed at the second great secret he was revealing today. That's disgusting. How dare you? I know people want to be taken seriously and fake wins don't mean as much, but I couldn't help myself. You were children and you'd beat me up if I won. It's so much better when everyone else got the chance to be victorious. Kira knew and went along with it. Damn it, Kira knew too? Cove laughed in disbelief that this is the thing his dad was stressed about hiding, after the other stunts he'd pulled over the years. So what? Lots of parents do that. I hadn't guessed it, sure, though looking back it makes sense. That's right. What's the big deal, Cliff? You can finally take the kid gloves off and give them a run for their money. Maybe even actual money, in your case. Mr. Holden smiled coyly, his gaze lowering. I'm not sure that's a good idea. And why not? He waved his hands expansively, the moments fluid and vague. It's just actually, I'm something of a card shark. I used to make lots of fast cash-up games. Casual players don't have a shot unless it's a game of pure luck. Cove's jaw hung open, his wide eyes fixed on his father. Really? There was a touch of amazement, even admiration nestled among the shock. The other members of the Pyework family exchanged looks, ranging from Liz's disbelief to Mum's intrigue, with Ma somewhere in the middle between the two. You can't simply make a claim like that and expect us to go along with it. Let's see you back it up, Shark Man. I love Liz. Mr. Holden gave her a crooked smile, his demureness quickly being replaced with the confidence of someone very skilled or very misguided. You sure about that? Definitely. We've got to see this so-called non-casual player in action. Well, I might be able. So, who knows? Maybe I've gotten rusty. His coyness continued to rile the gang up, and he was getting a kick out of it now. Come on, please. All right, I can dust off the old tricks. Don't go easy on us. Cove beamed at his father while Mum clapped Mr. Holden on the back. Liz darted off to get a deck of cards while the rest of you settled in for the game. Hands were dealt. Mr. Holden wasted no time proving his words true, wiping the floor with all of you. You played several rounds, even switching games, but none of you were a match for him. That was how the alliance came to be forged. The rest of you joined forces against Mr. Holden only, just to try increasing the odds of beating him. With your combined efforts, you pulled out a few victories, yet it was still a challenge. He was clearly a professional. If these were his skills now, rusty with disuse, you couldn't even imagine what a deadly opponent he'd been in the past. Despite that, you still had fun. Working cooperatively actually fostered a sense of camaraderie with the others. Mr. Holden didn't appear fazed by this strategy. You actually wondered whether the increased challenge made it more interesting for him. You spent the rest of the afternoon together with your family and the Holdens, having fun. It was an interesting evening for sure, with many discoveries for everyone. It was freeing, and yet simultaneously you felt more tied together than you had been before. Oh, that one was nice in the end. A bit of a roller coaster, but nice. They've all been kind of roller coasters recently. I guess that's kind of the point. You still gotta have narrative within the arcs. Oh, but I'm gonna head off now. I didn't drink any water throughout that because my bottle was empty, and now my throat is really sore, which isn't great because I've got stuff to do this afternoon and I got to talk. Anyway, thank you very much for hanging out with me. This is fun. 2 to go. That's insane. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.